Ferrari did not bring a normal upgrade to Barcelona. They brought the car Lewis Hamilton had been waiting for. Because after months of doubt, criticism, and questions about whether his move to Ferrari had come too late, Barcelona finally showed something different. The new front wing, the reworked floor, the reshaped bodywork, all of it started to connect. And suddenly, Hamilton was not just fighting the car. He was attacking with it. That is why this matters. Ferrari sacrificed an entire season to build for this moment. Vasseur defended the plan. Hamilton endured the pressure. Mercedes looked safe at the front. But now the upgraded Ferrari has changed the conversation. If this package works beyond Barcelona, Hamilton is not just chasing points anymore. He is chasing the championship. And Mercedes may have just realized the driver they let go has become their biggest threat in red. Subscribe to the channel. The first reason this Barcelona update matters so much is that Ferrari was not simply looking for speed. Ferrari was looking for confirmation. That is a very different thing. Speed can appear for one session. A car can look strong because the track temperature is perfect, because the tires switch on at the right moment, because the rivals miss their balance, or because one driver produces a lap that hides the real weakness underneath. But confirmation is deeper. Confirmation means the factory direction was right. Confirmation means the wind tunnel, the simulator, the data, and the driver's hands are finally telling the same story. And for Ferrari, that was everything. Because this upgrade was not built in isolation. It was not a random attempt to rescue one weekend. It was the visible result of a gamble that had started much earlier when Ferrari accepted pain in the short term to chase something much bigger in the new era. That is why the Barcelona package carried so much pressure before the car even left the garage. Ferrari had frozen development on the previous car. They had chosen to stop pouring major aerodynamic resources into a machine that could only offer limited progress. That decision left Hamilton and Leclerc exposed through difficult weekends, and it gave critics exactly what they wanted. A reason to question the project. A reason to question Vasseur. A reason to question whether Hamilton had joined Ferrari at the wrong time. And in Formula One, once doubt enters the room, it does not leave quietly. It grows with every qualifying struggle. It grows with every radio message. It grows with every race where the red car is not fighting where people expect it to fight. That was the background to Barcelona. This was not just a team bringing new parts. This was a team trying to prove that the suffering had been useful. That is what made the update so important. Ferrari arrived with a revised front wing, a reworked floor, redesigned bodywork, and a changed nose profile. Those details may sound technical, but the goal was simple. Make the car work as one complete machine. Control the air better. Feed cleaner airflow toward the floor. Create more usable grip. Give the driver more stability. Open the operating window so the car does not only perform when every condition is perfect. That last part is crucial, because a car that only works in a tiny window can make even a great driver look uncertain. One session it feels alive. The next it disappears. One corner gives confidence. The next takes it away. The driver cannot fully commit because the car keeps changing the answer. That is what Ferrari had to escape. And for Hamilton, that escape mattered more than anyone. Hamilton does not need the car to be easy. He has never needed that. What he needs is clarity. He needs to know what the rear will do when he releases the brake. He needs to know the front will bite when he turns in. He needs to know the tire will still be there when the lap reaches its most demanding corners. Once he has that, his driving becomes more than fast. It becomes controlled pressure. That is the version Ferrari has been trying to unlock. Not a driver surviving the car. Not a driver managing limitations. Not a driver trying to rescue something after a difficult Saturday. The version that can attack from the start, build rhythm, and turn a strong Ferrari into a real threat. Barcelona was the first sign that the car may finally be moving toward that version of Hamilton. And that is why the update changed the mood. Because before the upgrade, Ferrari's story was still built on promises. The team could say the new direction was encouraging. Vasseur could say the plan was working behind the scenes. Engineers could talk about correlation and long-term development. But fans do not hear correlation. They hear lap time. Drivers do not feel promises. They feel grip. And in Barcelona, the car finally gave Ferrari something visible. It looked sharper. It looked more stable. It looked like the floor was helping the car stay planted through the parts of the lap where confidence matters most. The final sector became a clue that the package was not just cosmetic. The Ferrari was generating performance where the driver could feel it. That is what made Hamilton's pace so important. It suggested that the car was no longer forcing him to fight every detail. It was starting to give him something back. For a driver like Hamilton, that changes everything. Because confidence does not arrive all at once. It builds corner by corner. A clean turn-in gives belief for the next braking zone. A stable rear gives courage on throttle. A car that behaves consistently through one sector lets the driver attack the next one harder. That is how a lap begins to grow. And that is what Ferrari needed to see. Not just one flash. A feeling that the car was finally becoming more complete. The pressure on Vasseur in that moment was enormous. He had defended the long view when the short view looked ugly. He had kept the message calm when Hamilton's first chapter in red was surrounded by frustration. He had asked Ferrari to trust that 2026 was the real target. But a team principal can only defend a plan for so long before the track has to defend it for him. Barcelona was the track's answer. The upgrade did not solve every problem. It did not guarantee a championship. It did not mean Ferrari could suddenly ignore Mercedes, McLaren, or the rising threat from Antonelli. But it did something extremely valuable. It made Ferrari believable again. That is the emotional shift. A struggling team can talk about potential, but a team with a working upgrade can create fear. And Ferrari wants fear back. For too long, rivals could look at Ferrari and see inconsistency. They could see brilliant moments, but not a complete campaign. They could see Leclerc's speed, Hamilton's experience, Vasseur's patience, and still wonder whether all the pieces would ever connect. Barcelona suggested they might. That is why Mercedes had to notice. Because Hamilton in a difficult Ferrari is a story. Hamilton in a Ferrari that is improving quickly is a threat. There is a huge difference. If Hamilton is fighting the car, Mercedes can focus forward. If Hamilton is starting to trust the car, Mercedes has to look behind. If Ferrari's upgrade path is real, then the championship is no longer just about who is fastest right now. It becomes about who is developing faster. And that can change everything. Ferrari does not need to be perfect immediately. It needs direction. It needs proof that the car is responding to development. It needs Hamilton and Leclerc to confirm that the factory is moving toward a platform they can attack with. Barcelona gave them that first proof. That is why this was bigger than a front wing, bigger than a floor, bigger than bodywork shapes. This was Ferrari testing its own belief. And for the first time in this chapter, the belief looked less like hope and more like evidence. But there is another part of the story that makes the moment even more powerful. Hamilton's move to Ferrari had become a test of patience. Not just for the team, but for him. He had to learn a new car, a new culture, a new engineering language, and a new emotional environment. At Mercedes, he had years of history built into every process. At Ferrari, he had to rebuild that trust from the beginning. That kind of transition is invisible to fans, but massive inside a garage. A driver can be one of the greatest in history and still need time to understand exactly how a new team thinks, how engineers interpret feedback, how setup changes are prioritized, how the simulator translates to the track, how the car communicates grip. Hamilton had to build all of that while the world judged him every weekend. That is why a working upgrade matters so much. It gives the driver a reason to believe the process is worth it. It tells him that the engineers are listening, that the development direction is not random, that the car is being shaped into something he can trust, that the pain of adaptation is finally producing performance. That is the kind of moment that can change a season from inside the driver's head. And Formula One is not only technical, is psychological. A driver who believes in the car brakes later. He commits earlier. He protects tires more calmly because he is not fighting instability. He speaks with more precision in debriefs because the car's behavior makes sense. Belief turns feedback into momentum. Momentum turns development into results. That is what Ferrari may have unlocked in Barcelona. The update did not just change the car. It may have changed Hamilton's relationship with the car. That is why the next step becomes so dangerous for Ferrari's rivals. Because once Hamilton starts to feel that the car is coming toward him, the entire project accelerates. His feedback becomes sharper. The team understands what he needs more clearly. The engineers can refine the package with more confidence. And suddenly, Ferrari is no longer guessing, is building. That is the difference between a team chasing problems and a team chasing performance. Before Barcelona, Ferrari still had to prove the new car could become a genuine title platform. After Barcelona, the possibility felt real. Not finished, not guaranteed, but real. That is the hook inside the whole season. If this update was just a Barcelona-specific improvement, Ferrari will fall back into the old pattern. One promising weekend, then another question mark. One strong lap, then another frustrating Sunday. One step forward, then confusion. But if this package works across different circuits, the entire championship opens. Because Hamilton is already dangerous when he has to recover. Give him a car that starts near the front, and the danger changes. From recovery to control. From damage limitation to pressure. From surviving races to shaping them. That is why this first block matters. The Ferrari update did not only give the car more grip, it gave the team something it had been missing. A reason to believe the plan was real. And once Ferrari believes, once Hamilton believes, once the garage sees that the sacrifice may finally be paying off, the whole season starts to feel different. Barcelona may not have been the final answer, but it was the first moment where Ferrari's future stopped sounding like a promise and started sounding like a warning. But the second layer is even more dangerous for Ferrari's rivals because Barcelona did not only show that the update worked, it showed where it worked. That detail matters. A Formula One car can find lap time in different ways. It can be faster on the straights. It can gain under braking. It can be better through slow corners. It can protect tires over a long run. But the most powerful kind of improvement is the one that changes how the driver trusts the car. That is what Ferrari appeared to find in Barcelona. The car looked more stable, more connected, more usable. And for Hamilton, that is not a small technical detail. That is the doorway to everything. Because Hamilton's greatest weapon has never been just aggression. It has been control under pressure. He does not need a car that feels wild to look fast. He needs a car that gives him clear information. A car that tells him exactly how much front grip is available. A car that lets him feel the rear before it becomes a problem. A car that lets him manage tires without constantly correcting instability.